you know, years later, when this, I do remember having this realization after, you know, the record was out and all of a sudden Seattle and this thing was happening, and, you know, and I just moved up there and, you know, the year before the record came out or something. And I felt this community and I thought, like, and at this point I'm 26 or 27, I'm just like, wow, I think this, we're actually part of something. Like, I'm actually part of this thing. Who knew? And it doesn't happen that often, you know. It doesn't really, at least not on that scale, for better or worse, but it doesn't happen that often. And there was a realization, you know, that we were part of something bigger. And it was pretty exciting until the wave kind of broke on our heads, and then it you know, that moment of exciting, of you know, catching the wave and riding the wave before it came up and, you know, slammed us pretty hard. It was pretty neat for about a week.
I actually think
a couple days maybe.
I don't know, I think something like that hasn't happened since then. You know, maybe the digital world doesn't allow real movements to grow or something, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, when we all first started, it was sort of pre-internet, pre-computer, almost pre-MTV, you know, so we were left to our own devices, and I think ultimately that helped our music to become our own thing.
And it probably happens on smaller levels that just don't get tapped into.
Right.
And maybe that's a good thing. But, you know, there's really good scenes in, like, DC, Portland.
Yeah, there's a great new lo-fi scene in San Diego that I've been reading about. This band called Waves. So, you know, it's out there.
Now you have reissues of 10 and you have reissues of the other albums. Is that something is that an idea that you really support and like, and, you know, looking back again, or is it sometimes maybe even painful to look back too much?
The only, you know, you just look at it as wanting to put out a piece of quality, you know, something of high quality that people can glean more off of than they remember from the, you know, offer them new things that they haven't seen before or heard before, and it's more of a quality issue that takes time. And, you know, outside of that, I think we were just about to start this record, this last one, when we were kind of working with the artwork and all that. So it's really just a time thing, and making sure it's you know, the best quality as possible. You know, good vinyl and good artwork, and you know, because you know, and then we had to decide whether it was going to cost a little bit more, and because in order to make it feel solid, it's going to have to cost a little bit more. And you know, it's hard. You have to make these decisions, you know. But ultimately, I think we're proud of it. I mean, I didn't listen to any of it, but I certainly helped put the books together and all that.
So you rather not look back so much?
You know, it's enough playing the songs, you know, almost on a nightly basis. You know, you look back a lot when you're in a band for this long. You know, it just kind of happens. And, you know, you write songs when you're a certain age, and then you end up singing them over and over, and it's funny because it's almost like that kid is reminding me of things that I used to think of and that I should not forget, you know? It's like I was sending myself messages in a time capsule.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for a fan like me, it's similar, very similar. So I couldn't say that the songs have lost their meaning or something just because I'm 20 years old.
Yeah.
How is that for you?
That's how it is with a lot of songs too. You know, you hear like protest songs. You know, 4 years ago, what we've gone through with our country and the politicians who are representing us as American citizens. You know, it's very tough. And then you come across songs like, you know, Masters of War, or, you know, these Dylan diatribes, or a Pete Seeger song, or a Woody Guthrie song. These were written, you know, almost 100 years ago, some of them, and it's absolutely applies to what happened in the last, you know, few years, and in some ways it's still going on. So sometimes it's a shame, you know, when you sing something like Masters of War, you play it, you wish it lost its relevance, or you can't wait for the day when it loses its relevance, you know. The other thing, it's an incredibly long song, and you just don't want to have to remember those words anymore.
To look into the past one last time, I'm wondering if the mid-90s maybe were the hardest time for the entire, I mean, maybe something died when Kurt Cobain died, maybe it was just too much commercial pressure.
Yeah, I mean, that was sort of a galvanizing, you know, time when the air was taken out of everyone's sails, you know. It really, you know, it's like, it was just such a shock, and it made, I don't know, made me rethink some things about, you know, what I was doing, but I never really lost focus of, you know, why I was doing it personally. But yeah, I suppose, you know, you could pinpoint that event as, you know, one reason why some of the bands started to implode, but there was a variety of reasons, you know. It wasn't just that, but it was certainly a pretty tough time, because we lost a really good friend, and it happened in such a violent way and everything, and so it's just, there's always questions when that happens, and sometimes you have to like question yourself, sometimes, like, you know.
Other bands were going through things, and it wasn't, you know, they were imploding for this reason or that reason, or this pressure or that misunderstanding, and then you think, you know, it's such a good job, and you don't really set out thinking that it could be a job, because that's a bit in the clouds, you know. But to, you know, do this thing that you love, that's your lifeblood, it's the one thing that's kind of been yours all your life, and almost like a religion, or you know, like a parent's love. You go to music for comfort and strength, and then to have it, you know, to not be able to do it, or to have to break up a band because of this and that, it's really something you fight against, you know. And it's funny to think that it would be that hard. And I think that, you know, how could music be so hard? How could making music and surviving as a band and communicating with people, and how could it be so hard? Apparently it is. And you know what you said before too about freedom and having freedoms, whether it's in how we distribute music or whatever. That's the other thing. It's like, if you can't have freedom as a musician, or as a kid who grew up wanting to be in a band and then gets to be in a band, and you know, if you can't have freedom, then like, who can? You know, what about the plumbers? They're totally fucked. You know, or what about other jobs?
But I don't have to be a hero for an entire generation and carry so
we
much.
Don't either. I mean, that's not. It shouldn't be that. It's the music. It's not the people, right? So it's just, you know, we're to the point where it's like, well, if you can't have fun and be in a band, and if you can't like feel like you're free and be in a band, and if it can't feel easy at least sometimes, then it feels like everything's fucked. You know, it's like being a musician is almost like a barometer of, it's like the canary in the coal mine. If the musicians aren't having a good time, the whole planet's fucked.